Today I'm reading from the book Spirit of Homeopathy, book written by Dr. Rajan Sankaran, Part 1 Philosophy, and page number 7. Title is The Story of this book. A student of the homeopathy college, we found the homeopathic materia medica very dry, the repertory mechanical and philosophy theoretical and obsolete. Philosophy was our worst subject because we could not relate it in any way to practice. In fact, we found the lectures so boring and that we had literally to be dragged into them. This was just the beginning of our trouble. When we started our practice, we found different school of thoughts, different way to look at homeopathy. Some practitioners were giving medicine in combination, some were giving specific, some were making prescription based on the pathology, while others were basing them on a keynotes, and yet others were using the repertory. Even among the last group, while some were using Kant's method, others were working with a bogus approach, and selected few were following the Bonning-Hussein's concept. Also, while some practitioners gave importance to miasm, others criticized them, and this situation only added to our confusion. First step is what? Once I got out of college, I started to working with the repertory because of prior familiar with it. I'm prior familiar with it, and I started repertorization case mechanically. I was trying to use the characteristic and peculiar symptom mainly because there are fewer remedy in this rubric which made repertory work easier. I would choose a few characteristic symptoms, look at the relevant rubric in the repertory and prescribe the medicine which was common to them. In some cases it works, but in many of it fails. I remember one early case of when my grandmother had difficulty in the swallowing and took her symptoms, uh, generalities, food potato aggravates, and throat choking, esophagus on swallowing. And from this, I came to remedy alumina, which helped her wonderfully. However, in many cases, this approach failed. And so I poured all my energy into the search of method which would prove of success in every case. I knew that the clinic was the best laboratory I could find, and the scientific mind and the best tool. The one principle I have adhered to throughout is to use only one remedy or therapeutic method at a time. And I have tried to keep everything else constant as far as possible. This has helped me a great deal in validating my observation. Subtitle is Precedence of Mental and General. Together with my colleague Dr. Jayesh Shai, I started studying our case of success and failure. What became quite obvious was that those cases in which we prescribed on mentals and generals were much more successful than those in which we had relied upon particular symptoms or used pathology as a basis for the prescription. We look at this idea purely from the practical point of view without really understanding the reason for it. And I started trying it, our idea purely from the practical point of view and without any really understanding the reason for it. And I started trying it out cautiously in some of our cases. I still remember in early cases of vitiligo, given in the detail the chapter in central disturbance, I could not get any symptom from this lady except for my observation that she was a very humorous and talkative person. Also, she was warm blooded and liked to walk in the open air. Reputation of this case, and I found the loquacity with jesting, walking in open air ameliorated, and warmth in general aggravate. I found the remedy Kali iodidum. However, Kali iodidum was not even mentioned under the rubric skin discoloration white spots. So then there was the question: will this remedy work? So far, been selecting remedy based on the mental and generals, but we also made sure that the remedy covered the local problems as well. This was one of the first cases where the pathology was just not covered. I decided to take a chance by ignoring the pathology and gave this lady Kali Ayurveda. The remedy was worked beautifully. I started asking myself some questions. Why did it work? How did it work? How could the remedy cure something which it is not known to be capable of posing or curing? What was the principle involved? At this time, I suddenly realized that when the remedy is potentized beyond 12C, there is no one molecule of the original substance left. What remains is only the energy. Since there is no material substance left, it cannot cause any material changes in the body directly. It can cause no physiological, or chemical changes in the body. It can only cause dynamic changes. The sentence that came to my mind was potentized remedy have dynamic effect only. This sentence was the door to totally new look at homeopathy and my first step to real understanding of the disease. What exactly is a dynamic disturbance? This was the question. We had seen in our practice that the remedy that covers the mental and journals cure the pathology too, even if it is not mentioned in the Materia Medica. We found that in a patient, it is the mental and generals that are common to most patients of a particular remedy, whereas the particular or local symptom differ from person to person. Subtitle Central Disturbance. So, the general disturbance represented mainly by the mental and generals, the central disturbance as well we call it comes first and this is followed by the changes in the various organ and system depending upon each individual's pathological tendency. Pathology grows on the central disturbance, like a creeper grows on a stick. What we have to do is to remove the central disturbance. Subtitle is Component Rubrics Connected by a Situation. My understanding progressed further when they started asking the question, what is the mental state? Then got the clue that understanding the mental state of person is different from listing his mental symptom. Initially, I had tried to understand the mental state of patients and then in terms of the essence or the course, but found out that the core did not seem to cover the whole remedy. This is the time when I convinced the idea of understanding remedy in terms of component. Take for example, symptom mind, death, predict the time of. In the remedy aconite. Immediately two things become clear. One is the aconite has a fear of death, and the second that it has ability to predict the time of death means it is clairvoyant. This was two components together make a symptom predict the time of the death. In this way, I started studying each remedy as a characteristic combination of the component. This idea helped me greatly in the practice. But then came to the question, are these components merely unconnected phenomena or is there something is background which connect them? A hint of the existence of such a background connecting the symptoms can be seen in the study Floricum acidicum. In Floricum acidum, there are components like indifference to loved one, yet talk pleasantly with the stranger, increased sexual desire, and also lack of morality. If we look at these three aspects, they seems at first sight to be unconnected. However, we could ask is increased sexual desire connect with the indifferent to loved one. One situation can explain all these components, namely when a man finds that he has married someone totally unsuited to him and needs to dissolve the marriage. In such a situation, he needs to develop indifference to his family, to become irresponsible and have increased sexual desire along with sociability. I took into the repertory and found the rubric mind, delusion, marriage must dissolve, and the only remedy given is floricum acidum. Such observations create a new wave of thinking in my mind, and I postulate that components of the state are not unconnected. The connection is that all of them are needed in one particular situation. I corollary to this is that this remedy represents the particular situation, and that each patient's state also come from the particular situation in the past in which the component of this present state were necessary. From this observation, the idea of disease as being a survival mechanism in the particular situations become clear. The concept of situational materia medica was born. Subtitle is Root of Disease. As my thinking along this line progressed further, I saw the even children with no special past situation have a state, and that adult too have state which cannot be explained on the basis of the past situation in their lives. I came to the conclusion that these traits may have been inherited from the earlier generation. When I look at case in this new light, I found a very striking resemblance between the state of mother during pregnancy and the state of the infant. I also found similarity between the state of the parent at the time of conception and the state of the child. This is how the idea of root of disease developed. Root are tendency which when excited manifested as a specific state of the disease. These tendency are impression from the specific situation in the past from previous generation too, and make a person feel and react as if he were in the situation of the past. Means delusion. Subtitle is delusion what they really mean. I also realized the importance of the section on delusion because the delusion is the false perceptions of the reality, and disease too is a false perception of the present. The whole mental state of the person is an expression of the false perception. It's called delusion. Now, subtitle is understanding the mental state. With all this understanding, I tried to find more way of the understanding the mental state of the person and evolve some techniques. One was the dream, since the one was to use the dream, since the theme of the dream represent the prominent component of the state of the dreamer. I also study the way the patients express himself and how to relate to the people around him. Such technique become an integral part of my practice. With the new perception in my practice, my idea were generated. This includes idea about the remedy, relationship, the situational materia medica, and several remedies and ideas about the pathology and homeopathic prognosis. Much more importantly, however, I could look at the question of what it really means to be healthy. This could be related not only to homeopathy but to the philosophy in the general. Subtitle is Higher Purpose of the Life. Health I realized was man's freedom to be in the moment and fulfill the purpose of life. I could now appreciate the Hahnemann's vision that man, like all creature, is an instrument of the spirit and is assigned a specific purpose by it. It is mentioned in the aphorism 9 of the organon. Disease comes in the way of the organism ability to fulfill the purpose, since it does not allow man to react to the present. It makes him react according to situation from the past. Cure is the restoration of the health. It is achieved when man becomes aware of his false perception of the reality. This is made possible through exposing him to his delusion. This is the basis of the law of similar on which homeopathy is founded. In this way, practice became more simple. Materia medica came alive and repertorial rubrics took on a new meaning. Homeopathic philosophy, which earlier we had to be dragged into, become the with the spirit and life itself. Subtitle Sharing Insight. Each chapter in this book deal with a specific question. Each idea seems so obvious to me now, but to get to it was a struggle. In practice, an idea or questions would flash in the mind. Then came sleepless nights when the mind grabbed with the problem. Such solution would appear, and this had to be tested the very next day in a case after case. Practice a strict, impartial judge mercilessly shattered some of my most careful constructed theories. The ideas that stood the test of practice were subjected to further scrutiny. Further observations were made, and then I could go to the next step, just like a mountain climber who make sure of the foothold before going upside. And difficult step, I came closer to the understanding of the homeopathy. Wanted to share all this insight with a student who might face the same difficulty as I did. It was with this aim that I gave series of seminars in Europe and India between 1986 and 1990. I had made some note for this seminar, which, together with some more recent insight, I have now put together and give shape to the form of this book. It is possible that what I say may not be new, but to have knowledge of, and on the other hand, to actually experience and strongly feel something as correct and true are two very different things. Generally, most classical homeopaths would agree with the idea in this book. However, some of the idea are new in homeopathy. Create list. Create a list are not started so clearly and pointed elsewhere. These include the idea of the root of the disease, component of the mind, importance and use of the delusion and dreams, compensated and uncompensated feeling, homeopathic psychotherapy, and situational materia medica. My view of the remedy, state and understanding them through the situation from which they originate promises to be the basis of new materia medica, of which I have made a beginning through this book. If you read this through all the chapter, I think that you will get a fairly accurate view of my thoughts and approach. As each chapter was written independently, there is a bound to be some repetitions and lack of sequence. I must also add that even though my perception of homeopathy has become much clearer, I still have the feeling of having seen only the tip of the iceberg. I therefore make no pretense to that this book is either complete or a final at best. At best, I can say I have made an honest attempt to tell you the story so far. My aim in doing so is to stimulate the reader to make his own observation and develop his vision. I am confident that in doing this, the wonderful spirit of homeopathy will touch you. Truth has the quality of striking deep within. Thank you.